collaboration with the Cyprus Mail, this is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
Coming up on this week's programme, are we about to destroy Cyprus' last unspoiled area of natural beauty?
For me, this is the end of the Agamas Peninsula. It will be the beginning of the end, definitely. It's a very worrying time. I actually urge people to enjoy Agamas for the last time, because from that point onwards, I don't think that they will leave anything for nature or for us to enjoy.
And did a Spanish spy in the 18th century plot the overthrow of North African leaders from a base in Cyprus?
I always say, you can believe in a spy, and you have to think that anything that he's writing, he has a reason to write about.
Next week is going to be very important for the Parliamentary Committee on the Environment, because the Agamas Development Plan is expected to be announced and some details have already been leaked. Joining us is the head of the Green Party in Cyprus, Bambos Theobentou. Bambos, I read a report in the local press recently, and this is extremely worrying, because I thought over all the years that we had said that Agamas was a pristine area, should be maintained as such. It's a national park and it is full of Natura 2000 sites, and yet it would seem that the government is going to release a plan that allows for quite a lot of development.
Unfortunately, this is their plan. I need to say that every time we have presidential elections, we move backwards with regards to the Agamas protection. First of all, I need to explain that we have an area in the Agamas that is national forest. What they're planning to do there is to do asphalt roads and have various places where they say that it would be small places where somebody can have something to eat or drink. Asphalt roads and places like that mean that they're going to bring electricity to the area, and that will be easy for anyone to actually build the house there, because they will have electricity. Because once you bring electricity to an area, automatically everybody can build anything they like. The second thing is that we have areas there that are protected, Natura 2000, Nature 2000. These areas, they plan to actually have some kind of buildings and development on these. We heard at the beginning that they were going to allow the building of small hotels. Actually, they call it a farmland that can accept visitors, okay? Which, in fact, it would be a small hotel. And for the rest of the area that is neither a national forest nor a protected area, what they're going to do is they're going to allow them to build like we build everywhere else in Cyprus, where you have the right to build anywhere you like. For me, this is the end of the Agamas Peninsula. Will be the beginning of the end, definitely.
Well, I think a lot of people agree with you on that. I was horrified when I read the article that building density is going to rise from 15 to 30% in many areas. And I have to say that the fact that the community leader of Neochorio, I think his name is Machimos Christodoulou, said that he was quite pleased with this, but then he also said that for the moment it would be okay that they would have whatever they'd asked for, but they were expecting that the 75% of their requests would increase over time. And that again suggests to me that this is basically what we call in English the thin end of the wedge.
Yes, you have to understand that before they do any sort of new changes in the town planning designs, they have to do a public consultation. And if you look at the documents they uploaded for the public consultation, they were all abstract. There were no maps or detailed views or detailed analysis of what they were planning to do. So we very much fear that what they're going to do is actually give the rights for a lot of development. One should never forget that we are talking about the government that they actually built the caves area in just outside Teia, as well as this is the government that expanded the regulations so that anybody can build anything they like. And they also now tried before, but they now they're making a more serious effort to have a special service within the Ministry of Interior to cater for large developments and speed them up. And it's a very worrying time. I actually urge people to enjoy Agamas for the last time, because from that point onwards, I don't think that they will leave anything for nature or for us to enjoy.
Well, this is the government that is, again, prior to upcoming elections, building roads and asphalting and concreting pretty well anywhere they can, presumably for their pals in the relevant businesses. But what really bothers me is that we don't seem to be aware of what's going on. And can I ask you, Bambos, what can Parliament do about this? You're the chairman of the Environment Committee. Is there any way that your committee can put the brakes on this and prevent it going to a plenum, where we know that government supporters and lobbies for developers have a lot of clout?
I actually arranged for government to come, and especially the town planning department, to come to the Parliamentary Committee for the Environment, and I have it on my agenda. It will be June the 8th at 11:30, and they will explain to all of us what are their plans with regard to the area. So that will be on June the 8th. Also, from what I am told, it's a misunderstanding that they are actually going to make an announcement now, because this is what I heard and this is what I understood as well. What happened now, they said, is they actually concluded with the procedure that was in the responsibility of the Ministry of Agriculture, that is the Department for the Environment. So from now on, it's the responsibility of the Ministry of Interior, and they are not going to make any announcement before June the 8th. So we hope to have a meeting that will actually shed light onto their plans, and at least try to correct as much as we can out of their design.
Now, let's talk about then the Agriculture Ministry, because that is the ministry responsible for the environment. Have they come out with anything that suggests that they don't agree with these proposals?
None that I know, and this is making it very worrying. It's very worrying.
And then let's talk about the town planning department that you just mentioned. They, of course, are under the Ministry of the Interior. So they're very unlikely, surely, to come out with anything that disagrees with what the government, and we know his very good pal, the Minister of the Interior, is likely to push forward on this issue.
Yeah, remember, it's the town planning department that gives all these permits. It's the town planning department that is actually responsible for all the destruction that we see all around the island, either the roads or the building permits and everything. They are solely responsible for all this mess that we face in the countryside as well as the protected areas. They are unbelievable in what they do, and this is the reason why I make sure that they will be present in the committee meeting on June the 8th.
But nevertheless, they are answerable, are they not, to the Interior Minister?
Yes, of course, yes. Yes.
So whatever is decided, can we say he carries the can?
Yes, but the point is, are they in agreement or are they arguing among themselves? I don't think they need any pushing to actually give all these permits. They are ready to do it themselves.
Right, let's talk about the fact that I read in the press, don't know if this is true, that the Hunting and Wildlife Conservation Federation expressed its concerns, disappointment and even anger at the details of the plans. Now, we don't normally think of the hunting lobby as being one that is pro-environment, but they're obviously upset about this. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, of course. I talked with them, and they are going to be present in the committee meeting and express their opinion. There are quite a few issues that we are in agreement with the hunters. I know it sounds very unlikely.
Well, that makes a change, let's put it that way, because we know how many times we've talked about bird trapping and so on. But what's their view on this? I presume they think that if we've got all this concrete roads, bicycles and goodness knows what else going there, the game will leave.
Of course, not only they will leave, it will no longer be a hunting area, because once you start building, they will not be allowed to go there and hunt. The other thing that we are in agreement with the Hunters Association is the great number of photovoltaic parks that they put everywhere, because automatically they destroy nature, you need to build roads, they bring electricity. It's a huge invasion into the countryside when you do photovoltaic parks. And we know that these are built because government gives permits to good friends that they want to support them, because you have a huge profit out of a PV park, photovoltaic park.
All right, but you and I know, and we've discussed many times, the need for us to get into RES or renewable energy sources.
Okay, yes.
But we never seem to make use of putting those photovoltaics on buildings, on car park roofs, on things that are already there.
Yeah. In answer to this, I will give you a saying that I had in Africa when I was there, about in a meeting of the International Renewable Agency Association, IRENA. And the Africans were saying this, and I heard them say this many times, is that we know that a great number of small renewable energy projects would benefit the community. But you also know that corrupt governments choose to have a small number of big projects. And this is true in Cyprus as well. Instead of them choosing to use rooftops and help people save electricity, install them on the rooftops of houses everywhere in Cyprus, they chose to actually promote the big photovoltaic parks that they give permits to their friends and friendly companies. So we know that this is happening now, and we also know that in a case like this, they make huge profits because they produce electricity that is costing them 5 cents, and they sell it to us more than 15 cents, 300 to 400% profit.
And the other thing we should say, because the government has come out, I think, recently, in the last day or two, with its plans to try and relieve the pressure on low-income households and encouraging them by giving them a grant. Is it €1,000 to help them install photovoltaics? But if they are vulnerable families, they're having trouble feeding their families at the moment. Where on earth are they going to find the remaining however many thousand, even if they get 1,000 to help them, to put photovoltaics on their roof? It's nonsense.
I know, yes. And there are many things that you can do to help people, but not like this. It's a poor family, okay, it's very helpful to give them €1,000 as a support. But you realize that in a poor family, where are they going to find the other 3,000 or 4,000 that they need? So they should have thought this differently. This is one thing. The other thing is that if you go to houses of the poor, you will see immediately that what they have, they are living in a house that is usually very bad with respect to energy performance. The buildings are very bad because they don't have the money to buy the right windows or to have the right doors or do the fixings, etc. So we know this, and all the studies have actually shown that usually poor people live in poor energy performing houses. So one of the things the government should have done first is to actually pay for the energy upgrading of the house, the renovation of the house.
And we're obliged, are we not, to do that according to EU laws at the moment? Because I know all new builds have to have a certain energy efficiency, but you're quite right that if we're looking at the rising cost of energy, and it's not going to go down anytime soon, is it? We really need to help people to put in roof insulation, perhaps double glazing or whatever else, to make sure that they can reduce their energy bills somewhat over the coming months. Because here in Cyprus, people don't seem to realise that in the summer, if you're in a glass-fronted apartment block, you need air conditioning. But in the winter, as in Northern Europe, you need heating. So we're terribly energy inefficient here, aren't we?
Yes, exactly. And this is a huge problem, and it's very important for people to understand also that we are the last country in Europe that introduced minimum energy performance specifications of the buildings. And that was done in 2010 or 12, I don't remember. That means that around 80% of the housing stock in Cyprus it was built without any thermal insulation specifications. And if you look at also at the old houses, that they used to have these wood frame windows with very, very thin glass, and also they wouldn't close very, very good. You can see under the door, you can see outside, and they use electricity heater that they put in the middle of the room, and they're wasting a lot of electricity because there are energy holes everywhere. Whatever they do, it's very difficult to heat the house or keep it comfortable within the winter. So this is why I say that it's very important to pay attention to this. And it's a number one advice from all the scientists and the European Commission that the number one thing you do in any energy policy is you make sure that you upgrade your housing stock and your building stock. And then the remaining electricity you decide, you choose the various forms of renewables that you can use to produce what you need.
Well, we know that we haven't done that, certainly for old build. But let's go back, if we may, as a final point, Bambos, to where we started. What can the general public do about this proposal for the development of the Agamas? Because it doesn't seem to me that unless voters mobilise, this is going to go ahead, isn't it?
It's going to go ahead, but you have to remember that once they publish these, they will have around 3 months period for anyone that wants to raise any objections. But
and how? Sorry, just a minute. How well publicised will that be?
Exactly. This is what they do. They have done this before. They are great in hiding this kind of information or pretending that they did the public consultation. But all I'm saying is that they are supposed to give us the right to raise objections. But I also need to tell everyone that there is a group of environmentalists that are preparing to sue the Cyprus government into European Court for failing to protect nature and for all the things that they are doing in the Agamas Peninsula as well as anywhere else.
Well, good for them, but the point is, will that legal route go through before the government presents us with a fait accompli?
The point is that once government tries to do something, we need the European Commission to act quickly, put a stop to it, and they can do that until we see what's happening and examine the details that are there. We can achieve this if there are the more people that actually sign this petition, if there is a petition, automatically the Commission will act fast. And not till it was signed, it would be very fast.
Right, now I think what we need to ask the Green Party then, anybody else who, like me, is appalled at the fact that our last pristine, we don't have any left in Cyprus,
Nothing.
our last pristine area is about once again to be handed over to developers to ruin. So we need the Green Party to publicise this and tell people what you would like voters to do. And I would suggest that all voters in the upcoming election campaign ask their candidates pointedly what their policy on Agamas is, because I think it's not unless people do put pressure on candidates for the presidency or whatever else and show that they will not vote for people who don't look after the interests of the whole of Cyprus, then maybe we can make some change. Bambos, it's been a pleasure talking to you as always, and I sincerely hope that our chat is going to perhaps electrify people in Cyprus to protecting our very last, very special area of the island.
I hope so, and thank you very much for the opportunity to explain all this.
That's the head of the Green Party, Bambos Theobemptou.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
In collaboration with the Cyprus Mail, this is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Haralambous.
The biggest achievement of Crime Stoppers has been the ability of the public to be able to give information about crime anonymously.
There's no way I could have kept prostituting without the drugs. There's no way I could have had my body used like a public toilet, because that's actually what prostitution is.
And then the fourth series I started 3 days after I'd won the Oscar, so the whole of the Monarch of the Glen experience was all interplatted with the Gosford Park Oscar experience.
I was working with Ronnie James Dio, and David was going to reform Whitesnake in 2003.
Cyprus was chosen because Cyprus is a stable, peaceful and secure place.
The ones that I'm proudest of are the ones that were true discoveries, where we found something we didn't know existed.
On Tuesday evening at the Archontikos of Axiothea in Nicosia, there was a fascinating talk about the travels of Ali Bey El Abbasi, a spy in Cyprus. And the speaker from the Autonomous University of Madrid was Fernando Escribano Martin. He joins us now. Fernando, this guy sounds fascinating. He was Spanish, I think, wasn't he? But how did he come to have a name of Ali Bey?
He was Spanish, but we know that he was Spanish a long time after, because he did the travel like Ali Bey El Abbasi. Ali Bey should be like a Syrian prince, but it was a pseudonym that he takes to travel first to Morocco, later for all the Oriental Mediterranean. But we don't know exactly what he was doing, even in Cyprus. In Cyprus, perhaps he was trying to take over the Egyptian candidate from the British Imperium to take the power in Egypt. And all this operation, intelligence operation, started here in Cyprus.
So how did you come to hear about him and then study his travel?
I study Mesopotamian history, but I study people, or Spanish people, voyagers that go to Orient. And one of the most important, it should be Ali Bey. But even in Spain, Ali Bey is not known. We need about 40 years to know that Ali Bey El Abbasi was Domingo Badia, because he organized the travel with the Prime Minister, first, I think, to take the power in Morocco, and later, not in the book, but in the other documentation, he said that he's fighting against the British Empire.
Domingo Badia, he was obviously a Spaniard. Did he work in the foreign ministry as such, or was he an ambassador, or what was he?
No. He was a person working in the Spanish administration that proposed to the Prime Minister Godoy a project to travel in the north of Africa. In one moment, we don't know the reason, or we don't know who was the protagonist of the idea. The travel changed to a political purpose that should be to take the power or to change the power in Morocco.
But he told everybody, I think, when
No.
he had to escape from Morocco, I believe.
No, he didn't escape. In one moment, we don't know exactly the reason. The Sultan know what he was doing and take Domingo Badia in Larache and say, go out, without nothing. But he said that without nothing. Because for me it's a problem, when you read the book, everything is written in the book. But when you know about the other documentation, you know that what is written in the book is not a lie, but anything similar. Or it's only the general vision about.
An approximation of the truth, maybe.
I always say, you can believe in a spy, and you have to think that anything that is writing, he has a reason to write about.
Right, let's put this into context. I mean, what years are we talking about? Because this whole region was a melting pot of so many different things going on.
We are talking about the first years of the 19th century. The travel was between 1803, 1807, and later he came back to the Spanish with a French king, Joseph Bonaparte. And after, when the French had to come back to his country, then he remained in Paris about 4 years. And later, he proposed another similar travel with a political intention. And I think that the colonies that France has in the north of Africa has a very clear relationship with this travel, with the travel proposed and with the first travel. But he died in Damascus, near Damascus, when he was starting the travel.
Now, after the lecture, of course, everybody went over to the CVAR for the exhibition, which is still running, I believe.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about that exhibition.
I think it's very, very interesting, and perhaps it's the first exhibition in the world, even in Spain, about Ali Bey, about Domingo Badia. We are going to show different pictures, but we are going to show different documents. For example, we are going to project the only original writing that I know. I think there are more, but we don't know where. When Badia described La Meca in Spanish, but we had to remember that the original book was written in French and signed with Ali Bey El Abbasi. Then we are going to project the original document describing La Meca. Domingo Badia or Ali Bey? For me, it's Ali Bey. Ali Bey was not the first European or Christian that describes that is in the Mecca, but it's the first that describes so proud the Muslim city.
Extraordinary that a Spaniard who presumably was not himself a Muslim made that journey to Mecca pretending to be Ali Bey. And if you want to find out more, then do visit the CVAR and the exhibition. You've missed Fernando's talk that was given earlier this week, but you can still find out some fascinating details at the Centre for Visual Arts and Research. And just before I go, let's take a look at an event happening this weekend. Since the relaxation on mask wearing indoors came into effect on the 1st of the month, well, the cultural scene is getting back on its feet. And on Sunday, at the Caves Exhibition Hall in Acropolis Park in Nicosia, the Cyprus Cactus and Succulent Society is holding its 13th annual exhibition of cacti and other succulents. In the Caves Exhibition Hall, you can see rare cacti that have been brought in by members of the Society. Just outside the caves, cacti and other succulents will be on sale, and there'll be some rare plants, handmade pots, and other succulent-related products. The leaflet The Smart Garden will also be being distributed free of charge, and it contains information on how succulent plants can be used in the Cyprus garden. Other than having minimum water needs, they can be very beautiful. They have little requirement for fertilizers or spraying and are very low maintenance. They also go very well with other plants in a Mediterranean garden. So pop on down on Sunday to the Acropolis Park in Nicosia between 10 in the morning and 7 p.m. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.